Hey, Cos-Say fam, and welcome back to a new episode. This week, I'm here with Lauren.
Hello, I'm
Uh,
electricseafoam.
yes, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, because I'm terrible at my job, apparently. But yes.
Okay, are we on?
So, we're just gonna jump right in. Obviously, the first question is, what was your first cosplay?
My first cosplay was a very cakey Nepeta from Homestuck, and I kicked on that gray makeup as much as I possibly could. It was a disaster and a half, but it finally came together. I went to like Goodwill and I picked out like the little green it was a green jacket, and then I got like the tail off of like Amazon and like the shirt off of like Homestuck, and I thought I looked amazing. Like I styled my own wig and I was like, this is the epitome of cosplay right here. I look back on it and I cringed so much, but I mean everyone else thought I was kind of cute. So and who can win? I was like 13, maybe 14 around the time, so I was like right of the age of like Homestuck fans. So it was fine for what it was.
How long have you been cosplaying?
I have been cosplaying. Oh god, four, 4 or 5 years now. I think. Kind of cosplayed. I started cosplaying like freshman in high school, and I just continued on from there. It's been a bumpy ride.
So, you just said it's been a bumpy ride. What do you mean by that?
It's really hard to. I find it really hard to like manage like school and cosplay. Especially with like high school. I didn't really get time management down then, and it was just like I was always like fighting between cosplay and schoolwork and school like and cosplay and schoolwork. And I also I was a competitive swimmer for 14 years, and competitive swimming takes around like 3 hours every day. So it would be like school from like 6 a.m. to I think 2 was it, and then it was swimming from 3 to 6, and then it was cosplay from like 6 to 2 a.m. and then whenever I could shove it, schoolwork. I was terrible at time management.
But you've gotten better at balancing your time?
Definitely. I'm in college now, and you have a schedule, and you just stick to it. Like this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do schoolwork. This is when I'm going to go to school. This is when I'm going to have lunch. This is when I'm going to have dinner. And this is going to when I'm cosplaying. And of course, you have to also manage like when am I going to have a test or when I'm going to have homework, and just filter that all into like one giant schedule, and then it'll be better. It's just all about time management.
Yeah. So, how often do you think that you cosplay?
Do you mean like at conventions or just working on it?
Uh, Both.
Okay, so that's what I go working. I tend to work on cosplay like almost every day, or at least I try to. It's just a great just way to like de-stress and just relax and listen to like shows like Game of Thrones and like Doctor Who. And then I usually go to conventions. I think like maybe 10 conventions a year, possibly less, possibly more. It just depends. Obviously, this year I'm not going to as many conventions as I normally would, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, around like 7 to 10.
So you said that you work on cosplays every day. What have you been working on recently?
I have been working on, as I look over to my right, a Slytherin cosplay based on Sunset Dragon. I'm like super into Harry Potter, and I just wanted to do like a cosplay that's kind of like based off like a Victorian Salazar Slytherin. If like gender bend. I know that's a lot, but it makes sense. And there's like a snakeskin corset, and there's like this beautiful like green two-tone taffeta that I've been working with. It's like you can see like the little strands of silk in there, and it's wonderful. And that's kind of what I've been trying to work on for the past like few months. It's been a long journey, especially with the coronavirus and like school and
Yeah. But it sounds so pretty. I'm excited to see it.
yeah, we'll see when it comes. It's coming.
What's the last convention? Oh, sorry.
Hmm?
What were you saying?
I was like, it's like a disaster over here, and I'm like,
No, I totally get that. I was asking, what's the last convention that you went to?
it was I think GalaxyCon, and it was GalaxyCon Richmond. It's kind of part of the GalaxyCon brand, GalaxyCon Rally and the conventions they do. It's part of that this the I guess the company,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. It was like a week before everything down, and it was like the last big convention, especially here in Virginia, that everyone did before just lockdown. And it was great. It was so much fun. I did a few cosplay contests. I think I won like best journeyman. I think I have to look back on that. But yeah, it was just really great, really really fun. I miss conventions so much. I
Uh,
really do. So many friends, so many good times.
yeah, I miss conventions too. But where did your convention journey start? Like, what was your first con that you went to?
So it was a very, very, very small convention. I'm talking like less than like 200 people. It was like Virginia Comic Con. It was like the VA Comic Con, and it was very small. And I was really young at the time. I was around like 13 or 14, and I was like looking, and I was like really nervous because there was kind of like it was kind of creepy, if you know what I mean. Just it didn't look like the cosplay world. It kind of looked like older guys, which is fine, but it just was kind of nervous to me. And I went in, and I was like super scared and super nervous. And eventually it warmed up, and I met some of great friends now that I still know today. But it was just like really nerve wracking. And then I think the first like big convention as well that I went to was Katsucon, and I was blown away. I was scared. I was terrified. I walked in to like the great big white hall of Katsucon, and I'm like, I am a small, insignificant little bean. I am terrified. And eventually, like, I'm strutting down the halls of Katsucon like it's nothing. But it's scary. It was definitely scary the first few conventions.
What's like your best memory that you have at a convention?
Okay, I'm gonna be like, it's kind of bad. My best memories are of like winning cosplay contests. I'm a very competitive person. I will do anything to win, which is great. In some cases, it makes me really obsessive over small little insignificant details. But I remember like winning Katsucon one year, and I was just like so elated. I was crying. I was literally like sobbing, because I won it, because I slaved like months and months over this like Queen Esther cosplay, and like I won. And I was just, I think it was like, it was also, I think it was only like a judge's award too, but I was like, so thank you so much. Like, it feels like I won an Oscar or something like that. But I think that was one of my best. Anytime like I get on stage and it's like a cosplay contest, it's like a wonderful memory for me.
That's awesome. Do you have a memory that you're not so fond of or that you don't really like to think about?
Yes. um, it was a few years back. I was cosplaying Black Rock Shooter with a bunch of my friends, and Black Rock Shooter is a little lesser known anime. It's a great anime, but it's just lesser known. And I had slaved months and months and months. I think I started like back in April planning the next year's convention. And planning these cosplays, and they didn't really turn out very well. And I needed like a 10-person group, which is insane to get. If you've ever tried to manage a cosplay group, it's really hard to get like 10 people. And finally, we got 10 people, and they all hated me at the end. But like, we got 10 people, and like bribed half of them, and it was held like 3 of them captive. It was fine. But yeah, they were really sweet to do it in the first place, though. But we went on stage and we did our little thing, and it was very avant-garde, if you understand that a little bit. It was a very avant-garde representation of Black Rock Shooter, and the judges really didn't get it, and our cosplays weren't, obviously like amazing. They were just a bunch of like cardboard, honestly. And we didn't get anything, and there was like 50 awards that were given out, and we didn't get a single one. And I think I went back to my hotel room and cried and ate cold pizza.
Oh,
And and we're all like I mean, it was like 10 girls, and we were all just sobbing and eating cold pizza. We bonded a lot that night, but I guess that was the only thing that came out of that was good. But yeah, don't make a 10-person group and compete. It's not good.
you said you're a competitive person, so you've put in a lot of work on your cosplays. Which one is the one that you are the most proud of?
I have to say to this day, and it's Queen Esther from Trinity Blood, and it's like the funeral dress of like Queen Esther, and it's like really really far down there. I made it in like 2016, and I think I'm most proud of it because of like how old I was at the time and how like little I knew about sewing, and like it was because it was my first like big sewing thing, and I was just really, I think I'm like really proud of myself, like my younger self, for taking on that and just saying like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Screw what everyone else says. I'm going to buy like 10 yards of like velveteen, and I'm going to do all of this with it. And it was a disaster, at the end of the convention. But it was a very fun dress to have. It was like very eye catching, and I mean, of course, I'm better sewer now, and I like sew those edges and serge them and make it very clean. But it was I'm proud of myself for like taking on that like very daunting task of Queen Esther. It's like it was like an 18th century ball gown. So if that gives you an idea.
That sounds really
And I
cool.
sewed like 2,000 pearls on it by
Wow.
hand. That's all I did for like months. So
And now on the other side of it, what cosplay that you've made are you the least proud of?
I made a Little Mermaid cosplay that no one ever saw and never saw the light of day. Back in this a few years. I don't even remember what year it was. It's a terrible year. And I put it on, and it was really kind of like skimpy because I was on the younger side, and I didn't, really fully recognize like, oh, this is a skimpy cosplay. You're not allowed to wear that yet because you're underage. And my mother came in and she was like, you can't wear this. And I'm like, yes, I can. And years later, I'm like, you couldn't have worn that. But she was right, and I shouldn't have worn it. And I didn't wear it. Never even left the hotel room. And it was just, I really worked hard on it, but it just didn't turn out very well. And I mean, I spent a lot of money on it, but sometimes it just doesn't turn out the way you want.
Yeah. I lost my question. Give me a second. I'll get it back. Hi, if you see me looking off, I have questions. I have an actual thought process before these happen. Thank you.
You're okay. Just breathe. That's what I always do. Breathe.
So you said you've been cosplaying for 3 or 4 years?
Yes. I think 4 years. Like started when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And came up through like as a college freshman. And it's been interesting just kind of growing with cosplay. Actually, what was really nice was I saw the community grow very rapidly. I mean, when I first started cosplaying, I mean, no one even had heard of Yayahan. No one had heard of cosplay. And then right now, I mean, you see cosplay fabrics in stores like Joann's, and it's more popular. I mean, it's something that people wouldn't bat an eye at as much as they used to. I mean, if I tell people like, oh, I cosplay, they're like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Like, and if I told people I cosplay when I was younger, 4 years ago, people would be like, oh my God, you absolute nerd. And I'm like, yes, I make things. And I'm like, I am productive in some way, but they wouldn't understand. So it's just nice seeing that kind of evolve, especially with me growing up, and it's been like a huge part of my life. I mean, it's my rock. It's something that I fall back on, and when I'm like really upset and depressed, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go. So, if I get like let's say a random number like 54 on your last biology test, if you go just and sew and just relax, it's just you're like, okay, I'm not like absolutely nothing. I know how to sew. I know how to make these things. And it's been really helpful dealing with the pressures of school.
That's definitely really cool, and I'm glad that you think of it that way. Like it's so beautiful to see the way that you described that. Actually,
thank you. It's been so nice to me. Essentially, I mean, as well. I mean, I always like to compare cosplay to sports or swimming, and like because I used to swim for like 14 years, and it wasn't a very good atmosphere. It was very abusive. It wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of abusive. It was definitely mentally abusive because they tell you that it's like you're not the best, you're never going to be the best, and to be the best you're going to have to like literally break your body to be the best. And sometimes people like they feel like I could never be the best swimmer I could never beat Katie Ledecky, the fastest swimming female swimmer in the world, just because of the way I'm built. And like I found that a beauty in cosplay that you can just learn this stuff. And you can make these things if you have creative talent, if you don't have creative talent, if you know how to paper mache, and you can make this stuff just and be amazing just being you instead of just competing at that with like sports and having these like kind of social pressures on you.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for that. This is like really deep. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, you were getting to like the really really deep section of cosplay. You'll see me like crying in like 10 minutes or something like that.
No. It's beautiful to see the way that people relate to cosplay, like how they see it, because there are some people that don't understand it, and there are some people that are like, hey, that's pretty nerdy. But then the reason that I started doing this is because there is that passion for it. There is that spark in their eyes when they talk about how much they love doing it. Like,
yeah, yes, especially when you're talking about like competitive, like when you're standing in line at cosplay competitions and you talk to someone about like their cosplay, and they get that little spark and they get that just fire in their eyes, and it's just so wonderful for them to just ramble on and about like something that they're so passionate about. Especially when I love when I'm like cosplaying someone and someone like runs up to me like, oh my god, you're Atlantic Mercy, I love the skin, and you have that instant connection, which is really sweet. And you're like, oh, let me swipe the Instagram, and you know what, you've made like a new friend in like 10 seconds just by wearing like an outfit.
Yeah.
I think just it's so cool and so cute.
What are some me losing my questions today. I'm sorry. You threw me off with all that beautiful talk about passion and friendship. I love that. Anyway.
Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic. Why did that make me think of She-Ra? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I definitely didn't buy a glimmer wig today.
But you know, it's fine. It's fine.
What are some traits or skills that you've picked up from being a part of cosplay?
I've picked up very interesting skills. Actually, so obviously you picked up sewing and like embroidery, and foam work and all of that jazz, and painting, you know, just generally cosplay-ish stuff. But then you also pick up skills like social skills. You learn stage presence. You learn how to market yourself. You learn how to make like these little like media kits. You learn editing and filmmaking. And I think it's really strange because now I have all these like really random skills that like usually are for like the business industry. And so like not only do I know how to like, you know, so like if you know if the world ended and I needed like to sew my clothes, I could totally do that, but I can also market myself to like world leader. You know, it's an interesting like set of skills that cosplayers have, and they're very savvy. Cosplayers are extremely savvy in especially taking on like different trends, and I mean cosplayers like pop out different costumes like instantly. It's insane, and they just really know how to market themselves well and take that business aspect and just turn it into cosplay.
Yeah. What's your favorite skill that you've gained?
Learning how to sew a corset. I'm extremely proud of myself for knowing how to sew an actual corset. Like they think that everyone thinks they're like so scary, but they're really actually quite easy to make. You just need to have a little bit of time and like a steady hand, and you have a corset, and they look really good with like minimal effort.
That's
like
awesome.
I'm like this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, I know, I suck at sewing. They're like, no, you don't suck at sewing, and I'm like.
That is all of the questions that I have. But is there anything you want to say, whether it's to friends, your followers, your handlers?
I would like to apologize to all my handlers for being a complete and utter diva when I'm cosplaying. I am a nice person, I promise, but you know, hand feeding goldfish is just sometimes part of the job. So
well, that's all the time that I have for today's episode, guys. But thanks for watching. Thanks, Lauren, for being on the show. It was really awesome to talk.
Sorry, and follow me on Instagram at electricseafoam, please. That would be
yes.
Nice.
Her tags will be down in the description below, as always, guys. Thanks for watching this week's episode, and I'll see you next week with a new episode. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. My handlers don't eat. You know, I don't let my handlers go to the bathroom.
Here's an apology video to all of Lauren's handlers.
This is an apology video. I'm so sorry.